Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're having a great Friday. Some of you may already know this if you follow my Twitter, but I have decided to axe the Mondays with Merri series. Someone had kindly pointed out that Mr. Happy apparently has a series by the same name, so Mondays with Mr. Happy or whatever. I don't actually watch his stuff, so I had no idea, and I realized it'd be kind of tacky to keep doing it, so I decided to just put an axe in that. However, I wanted to do something more anyways, and I decided to kind of turn this series into something else entirely. Well, not entirely. I mean, I'm still going to be answering your questions, but I wanted to add another layer to it, basically. So, instead of Mondays with Merri, we now have Fan Fridays. So instead of me just answering questions, I want you guys to tell me what you've been up to in game. You know, maybe you beat a raid, maybe you got an item you really wanted, maybe you got a job to 60 or something. You know, let me know what you've been up to so we can just kind of talk. You know, we can talk about your achievements, I can talk about my achievements. You know, I can answer your questions. Let's just make this about all of us and not just me answering questions. You know, I want this to be something for all of us, and so whether you have a question to ask or something to share, feel free to do so in the comments and we'll talk about it in the next episode. But for now, I have some questions from the last episode of Mondays with Merri to answer, and then from here on out, we'll just kind of roll with the new formula. So, without further ado, first up, we got a comment here from Rowan saying, the first episode of Merri's shorts that I watched was the Dragoon jokes one. Why were you freaking out about trying on the Dragoon armor at the end of that video? That was actually a scene I had written into the short after I had started filming. I felt like the short was a little too short, and I wanted something to tack on to the end. And so I basically came up with this idea of Merri like getting caught trying on Dragoon armor after he just got done trashing them and making fun of them. So he's supposed to be embarrassed, like, oh shit, you know, they caught me wearing this thing that I just got done berating not 5 minutes ago. In hindsight, I could have probably done a little bit more with that scene, but you know, hindsight 2020. Some jokes are perfect, others fall flat, you know, you just kind of roll with the punches. I'm learning as I go, so not everything is flawless, unfortunately. Next up, we got one here from Slotha saying, what would you think if they added the espers from Final Fantasy XII into Final Fantasy XIV in the form of a raid series? Well, to start things off, Final Fantasy XII is probably my favorite Final Fantasy next to Final Fantasy XIV and Final Fantasy XI. I absolutely love that game, and I love the world of Ivalice. So I would absolutely be 100% on board with them basically taking anything from Final Fantasy XII and putting it into Final Fantasy XIV like they have. I would fucking kill for both years' outfit, let me tell you. Wink wink nudge nudge, Square Enix. I mean, I know you gave us that shitty cloud outfit and snow and lightning from Final Fantasy XIII, but how about Balthier and Fran or some shit from Final Fantasy XII? That'd be pretty badass. Anyways, I think it'd be really cool. Unfortunately, I think it wouldn't be plausible because they've already used a few assets in Final Fantasy XIV. For example, spoiler alert for any summoners who haven't done the level 50 class quest, you actually fight Belias at the end, and he's one of the espers from Final Fantasy XII. I think he's the first one you get, actually, the fire esper. But suffice it to say, like, some of them already kind of exist in-game in a different form, so it might be hard for them to really, like, bring that mythology over, I guess. Plus, they're already kind of doing the whole thing with the Ascians and all that stuff, so it's hard to really tell if they would make anything serious out of that, but it's an awesome idea, and I think it'd be really cool, but I certainly don't have my hopes up for it, I guess, if that makes any sense. That's a good question, though. Thank you. Moving right along, we got a question here from Kyle Beach asking, which job would you like to see implemented into Final Fantasy XIV? Hands down, Beastmaster. I actually played a Beastmaster in Final Fantasy XI, and I love that job. It was so much fun, and while it wouldn't necessarily translate the same from Final Fantasy XI into Final Fantasy XIV, since it was more of a solo job, I still think it'd be really cool, because we have Summoner, which is a ranged pet class, and Machinist also is kind of a ranged pet class. But we don't have a melee pet class, and Beastmaster would fit that role perfectly. They could use like a one-handed axe and a shield, or two one-handed axes, and then they just fight alongside a pet, you know, and maybe you could go out into the wilds and like capture random animals, and they'd have different effects, like maybe one would do slashing damage, or one would do blunt or piercing. Maybe they'd have different effects or different types of debuffs, so you'd have to like pick and choose your pet for different fights and stuff like that, and I think it'd be really cool. They could do a lot of fun stuff with that, and I would absolutely love to have a melee pet job like that. Alright, we got one here from D. I'm gonna call you D if that's alright. I'm gonna butcher your name otherwise, so hi D, how's it going? I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for asking your question, and thank you for asking this question. Now, D writes, a random fun one, but if you could be any class/job from Final Fantasy XIV in real life, which would you be and why? Machinist would be kind of cool because then I'd have actual marketable skills. Ninja's pretty dope, like you'd be all agile and flippy and be able to shoot bolts of lightning and fire out of your mouth and crazy shit like that. That'd be cool. I'd say Dragoon, but I'd probably just like jump up and then land in front of a bus and get run over and die, because that would be a very Dragoon thing to do in modern society. So I'm probably gonna have to go with Ninja. Yeah, let's go with Ninja. Ninja would be fucking sweet. Next up, we got a question here from Yucks. And they're wondering if I think Square Enix will ever expand Triple Triad to be played outside of the Gold Saucer. Well, we got a furnishing that lets us play it in our houses recently. That's pretty cool. It's a step in the right direction. But I'm not really sure why they don't let us just play it wherever we want. I think it'd be really cool to, like you said, kill time in a raid, for example, if you're waiting on cooldowns by playing a few matches of Triple Triad. And they've shown that we are able to play it outside of places like the Gold Saucer, as there's NPCs out in the world that you can just randomly play with, so it's not like a server issue, it seems. So I'm not really sure why they're prohibiting it, and hopefully at some point they'll open it up, but I would not count on that anytime soon. We got one here from Kiba Toshima, and they're wondering if I could sing parodies for some of my videos. Alright, now I'm not going to flat out say no. I don't really have a singing voice, but maybe at some point down the road I'd be willing to give it a try, so we'll see. Don't count on it anytime soon, but you know, it could happen. Maybe. And last but not least, we have one here from Big, and they're wondering how much RAM I have and if I record with 2 monitors. Well, I have 8 gigs of RAM, and I used to have 2 monitors, but the second one actually stopped working a while back. So for a while now I've had a single monitor, and it makes things a little bit more difficult. So until I'm able to afford a second monitor, I just kind of deal with what I got. Although I am looking into getting one because I'm going to start streaming soon, hopefully, and I'm going to definitely need a second monitor for that. So hopefully I'll have one relatively soon. So I think we'll wrap things up there for now. If you have any questions you want to ask or comments, feel free to drop them down below. And feel free to share some of your recent achievements in game, let me know what you've been up to so we can talk about that as well, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more to run with next episode. So until then, you guys have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and I will catch you next time.